Hey guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches. I've had a couple of San Martins turn up over the Christmas period, so in this video I'm going to take them out of their tubs and review them for you. I'll give you all the facts, figures, stats and specifications, all the usual stuff. Inside these tubs there should be a couple of new releases. The first one is a vintage pilot watch, the SN0108. $205 US, 202 euros, 179 British pounds. It contains the NH35. Inside the second one, there should be a luxury GMT retailing for 362 US dollars. This is on the official store, or from the official store on AliExpress, I should say. That is 357 euros. 316 British pounds, available in 3 colours this one, and contains the automatic Hangzhou 6460 GMT movement. So let's head over to the lightbox and take a look. Now, while I'm unwrapping these watches, I just want to show you a tab at the top of the San Martin official store. And if you click on that tab, you'll see lots of discounted San Martin watches. And in the past, they have offered fans or followers of the official store extra discounts. So it's probably worth following the store. They've got 213,000 followers at the moment, which is pretty impressive for a watch store on AliExpress. So yeah, if you're like me and you like discounted watches, it's probably worth taking a look every now and then. Right, here's the first watch then, the SN0108, containing the NH35, and given there's no date window on the dial, there will be a ghost position in the crown. Yes, there it is. NH35 does have a date complication. But other than that, standard operation, hand wind or mechanical, obviously. You can't see the rotor in the back, but if you wear it, it will wind up the movement and pull the crown out to the second position, and you can adjust the hands. And I've put this one on the time grapher, and it's running very nicely. Good accuracy, decent amplitude, okay beat error. It's under 1 milliseconds, but it's 0.9 milliseconds. It's not fantastic, but yeah, it seems to be running okay. Now, on the listing on the official store on AliExpress, they're referring to this as a vintage-inspired pilot's watch. I guess there is a little bit of pilot watch in it, but it just looks like a fairly standard, simple three-handed watch to me. Nice and legible during the day. Anyway, we'll check out the lume in a minute, and those numerals and hands seem to be very dark. But there are a couple of nice features on this watch. The hands, according to the listing, are blued. So blued through temperature, not painted, but actually blued hands, which is a nice touch. The dial, it's an interesting colour. I'm going to have to take this watch outside, I think, and take some shots, because in my light box it looks a sort of, I don't know, lime greeny yellow colour. But sometimes when I look at it, when it's not in the light box, it looks a sort of goldeny yellow, which is a little bit more pleasing to the eye. And also, dark lume. There is a lume shot on the listing on AliExpress, and it doesn't look particularly impressive. Maybe that is, a result of them trying to make the numerals and the hands quite dark, to contrast with that fairly light dial during the day. So I guess some lume is better than none. Let's have a look at the lume now, actually. Let's just get that done, shall we? Now, I am going to give it a boost with the lume torch to show it in all its glory. I do this in all my videos to show the lume at its best. But believe it or not, it is sometimes an indicator as to whether or not the lume is actually any good. Because sometimes it can fade quite quickly, and sometimes it can be, not a particularly bright lume display, and this one just looks okay. It's faded fairly quickly. The lume on the hands is definitely fading quicker than the lume on the numerals. So yeah, I suspect the strength of the lume has been compromised because they've tried to make the hands and the numerals a little bit darker, so that's worth bearing in mind, I think. Now, when I first saw this watch, I thought it was an updated version of this watch, a sort of freckle dial watch that San Martin released a little while ago. But actually, there are a lot of differences. They may not look very obvious at the beginning, but different crown shapes, different case shapes, and the bezels are quite different. Similar crystals, I guess, sort of box double-domed crystals. The hands are different, although they Both appear to be blued, similar coloured dials, but not the same. Different finishing on the cases. There seems to be more brushing on this one and more polishing on the top surface on the new one. So yeah, quite a few differences actually. Something you can expect, of course, from San Martin is decent steel finishing, and this watch doesn't disappoint. Very nice brushing along the side of the case, and yeah, mirror-like polishing on top of the case, and a sort of double step bezel leading up to that box double domed sapphire crystal, yeah, with blue 8R coating. You can see that blue hue around the outside of the crystal. Very simple case back, circular brushing, and yeah, just a very nicely finished case, and pretty much the same story with the buckle. A high polished buckle with San Martin engraved on it. Yeah, beautifully finished. And again, something else we've become accustomed to when it comes to San Martin watches is decent overall specifications, and this watch is again not going to disappoint. 100 meters of water resistance, screw down case back, a pull push crown, but you do have quick release spring bars, a very nice leather strap, very soft and supple with some decent stitching towards the case. Yeah, I've already mentioned it, nicely finished steel, decent sapphire crystal. Okay, the loom on this one a little bit disappointing, but extra legibility during the day as a result. I'll put a full list of specifications in the video description because, well, I've got to get through 2 watches in this video, so yeah, I'm likely to miss some stuff. So yeah, if you want to know more about these watches, head down to the video description. Right, here's the second watch, the SN0075, and quite a few polished elements on this watch, so I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down before I show it to you. There it is. Yeah, a sort of familiar homage watch, I'm sure, to many of you, and a few familiar elements on this watch as well, like this bracelet, for example. That seems to be appearing on more and more watches that San Martin are making, and as you can see from the thumbprints already, it's a little bit of a print magnet, but it is an incredibly beautiful and well made bracelet. Great continuation because of that butterfly clasp, of course. Yeah, it is just fantastically made. Lots and lots of light play, as you would expect. Some high polished surfaces on the corners, chamfered edges, if you like, running the length of the bracelet. So that will be familiar. The case shape as well. Not just familiar because it is a homage, but San Martin are producing a few watches that look very, very similar to this. The main differences being, well, the dial and the fact that this is a GMT. Now, sadly, they've chosen to put the Hangzhou 6460 in this watch, and the reason I say sadly is because, well, they have started to use the NH34, which I think is going to be a very popular movement. Well, it's already very popular, isn't it? Being used by lots of micro brands, and although the Hangzhou 6460 is considered a sort of fairly premium Chinese GMT movement, it's a clone of a ETA 28000 series movement, but modified to accommodate the GMT element. It's not going to be as popular as the Seiko NH34. So I suspect this watch is going to suffer because of the movement choice, which is a real shame because actually it is beautifully made, as you would expect from San Martin, and I think it looks pretty good, and actually very comfortable despite there being a lack of micro adjustments or half links. Again, I've managed to get a fairly decent fit with this one, and it's not too heavy, not too big and bulky, and actually feels very comfortable on the wrist. And something that I was a little bit surprised by was the brushing on the side of the case. It is shown in pictures on the listing on AliExpress, but there are some different types of brushing along the side. You've got longitudinal brushing here, and vertical brushing on these elements here, which I think is a really wise decision. I was sort of expecting these to be polished, but actually they're brushed, and so I guess that's gonna make it more durable when it comes to sort of knocks and scratches and stuff. Beautifully polished bezel around the outside, lots of nice brushing on top of the case as well. That bezel beautifully brushed. Yeah, it is a good looking piece, isn't it? And again, like the other watch, impressive specifications. 100 meters of water resistance. This one does have a screw down crown, but not a screw down case back. It has a screwed down case back. Again, beautifully finished, and reminds me a little bit of the SN010 I looked at recently. where that case back was beautifully polished, sort of mirror-like polishing. So yeah, simple but nicely done. Sapphire crystal, solid stainless steel construction, you know, all the good stuff. And I suspect the loom on this one will be a little bit better than the previous watch, so yeah, let's take a look. And the reason it will be more impressive is because this watch has loom-filled applied indices, so lots of BGW9 filled into hollow applied indices, basically, which means basically more loomed material. So yeah, a nice loom display, blue BGW9, and it's going to last pretty well, I suspect. And while I'm zoomed in, let's have a closer look at this dial. Fully polished hands and applied indices, and a red tip to that GMT hand, which is pointing to an inner circle, which does appear to have a sort of sunburst effect to it. It's not a matte finish or a glossy finish. There's definitely some light play on this dial, 24-hour details for the GMT hand on that inner circle, and yeah, some details, some texture to this dial as well. So yeah, looks pretty good. And GMT automatic above the 6, San Martin logo printed under the 12. Yeah, very nice. So 2 more interesting options from San Martin. One slightly more affordable because, well, it's a less complicated watch and it contains the NH35, and the other a luxury GMT, beautifully finished with a very nice Hangzhou 6460 GMT movement inside. Yeah, I mean, I like them both. I suspect the Pilot watch on the left will turn out to be a little bit more popular because, well, it's more affordable, and I think most people want to spend sub $200, $250 on watches on AliExpress, but also it contains the NH35, which is just a loved movement. We have seen less NH35s in watches from San Martin recently, and I've said it in a previous video. It's good that they've started to use that movement again. But yeah, the watch on the right, beautiful watch, but I think that might be held back by the inclusion of the Hangzhou 6460, given that people now know San Martin will be producing watches with the Seiko NH34. So yeah, had this watch had the Seiko NH34 in it, I suspect it would have been a real winner. But unfortunately it doesn't. But still, a couple of very nice options, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Your comments aren't just entertaining for me and others to read, they are genuinely useful for people considering buying the watches that I review. So please, guys, comment away, like, subscribe, and yeah, you'll see me again very, very soon.